Guests walked through the front doors of this building, handed over their credit cards, and collected their room keys. They unpacked their bags, and then they vanished. No checkout, no trace. The building itself sat quietly in the middle of a busy city district. It had a standard brick exterior, an unassuming lobby, and a completely routine check-in process. It looked entirely safe. When the first few people disappeared, the staff wrote it off. They assumed a guest had simply left early in the morning, bypassing the front desk to avoid a bill or to catch an early flight. But a quiet departure always leaves a paper trail. A skipped checkout usually means a flight record or a bank transaction later that day. Here, there was zero external activity, making the utter normalcy of the hotel feel like a silent vacuum. A guest checking into room 307 provides a clear timeline of the disappearances. He arrived on a Tuesday evening, carrying a single small suitcase. The next morning, housekeeping knocked on the door of 307. Hearing no response, they used a master key to open the deadbolt and stepped inside. His suitcase was open on the luggage rack. His clothes were neatly folded in the drawers. His cell phone was still plugged into the wall charger next to the bed. The heavy wooden door had remained locked from the inside. The windows were secured. There were no overturned chairs, no scuff marks on the floor, and absolutely no signs of a physical struggle. People who skip out on a hotel bill take their phones and their clothes. The pristine state of room 307 proved this guest didn't pack up and leave. He was erased from a sealed room. Investigators soon realized room 307 was entirely routine. The exact same scenario played out on the second floor, the fourth floor, and the fifth floor. The security cameras mounted in the hallways captured clear, time-stamped footage of these guests unlocking their doors and walking inside. For days afterward, those same cameras recorded an empty hallway. None of the missing guests were ever filmed coming back out. Local authorities took over the property. They shut down normal operations and brought in forensics teams to physically tear the rooms apart looking for an exit. This architectural floor plan shows exactly what the forensics teams found. Look at the layout. There are thick, unnatural physical gaps of completely dead space walled off between the standard guest rooms. The police stopped looking for exit routes made by the guests. The geometry of the building itself became the primary suspect. This cross-section blueprint reveals the purpose of that dead space. The voids contained a hidden network of sealed corridors running parallel to the normal hallways. Zooming in, concealed entryways built into the shared walls allowed someone to breach the guest quarters entirely undetected. Detectives theorized that a human predator was living inside the walls. Someone who knew the architecture could use those narrow pathways to watch the rooms, wait for a guest to fall asleep, and strike without ever stepping into a public corridor. But a physical predator leaves DNA, footprints, and eventual mistakes. The total lack of biological evidence led terrified locals to suggest a psychological or even supernatural explanation, supported by years of bizarre guest complaints. Long before the police arrived, guests frequently called the front desk at night. They reported the sound of heavy footsteps echoing from above when the room upstairs was vacant, and quiet, unintelligible whispers coming from the drywall beside their beds. The architectural anomalies and the auditory reports suggest the building is not merely a hotel. It is a meticulously engineered trap designed to turn a place of rest into an inescapable hunting ground. A police file from late Tuesday night contains the last recorded case. Security footage shows a solitary woman checking in and walking toward her room. She turns the handle, enters, and shuts the door. Minutes later, the overhead fluorescent lights in the hallway begin to flicker erratically, plunging the corridor into brief moments of total darkness. Under the flickering lights, the heavy wooden door to her room slowly swings open, hangs ajar for 3 seconds, and then silently clicks shut. There is absolutely no one visible in the hallway. She was never seen again. The footage forces a realization that the unseen mechanism of the hotel continues to operate entirely within the camera's blind spots. Today, the property sits abandoned. The city has grown up around it, leaving the quiet brick structure largely forgotten by the thousands of commuters who walk past it every day. But urban explorers who occasionally break in report a heavy, suffocating paranoia. As they walk the empty halls, they They describe the distinct physical sensation of phantom footsteps pacing them from just behind the drywall. They didn't find any bodies because there were no bodies to remove. The missing guests were consumed by the environment. They became a permanent part of the architecture.